that the equations gave us, and then use that to determine which of the options was the graph of that line. So for number 1, it gave me y equals -1/2 x minus 1. What characteristics or information about the graph does this give me, Ebony?
Another review packet.
I do not have another review packet.
It's gonna be having a
Hold on. It tells me the y-intercept,
Yeah.
which is this number right here. Oh, that was really bad. So that is my y-intercept. What else does it tell me?
x-intercept.
The slope, which is this -1/2 right here.
Got the name.
Okay? So then I go to the graph options that are on that page, and I look for the one that goes through the point y is -1, which is on that vertical axis. And then I look for one that has a slope of -1/2, which means I either went up 1 to the left 2, or I went down 1 to the right 2. So my line should look something like that. Which option has that? A. So option A is the correct one for number 1.
Just circle that.
Circle it, box it in, square it, star it, whatever you need to do. Calm down. Okay, number 2. We're gonna do the same thing, except it was not given to us in the nice pretty slope intercept form, which means we're going to have to manipulate it a little bit. So I have 9x minus 2y equals -8. The only way to pull out information about this is to get it into that slope intercept form, which means I need to get y by itself. So what's the first thing I'm gonna move? The 9x, I'm gonna subtract it over. So I get -2y equals -9x minus 8. Then what am I gonna do?
Divide by -2.
Divide by -2. When I do, I get y equals positive 9 over 2x plus 4. Where again, I pull out that information. So positive 4 is my y-intercept. And 9 over 2 is my slope. So then looking at the options that it gave us for graphs, which one is the graph for this line? A. So both of those on the first page should have been A. Yeah. Questions, concerns, or issues with that one?
I got a quick question. On Friday, you're my only final in the morning, and I don't have, I have a vocational, so I only have 3 classes. What am I supposed to do from like?
You gotta ask the office. I have no idea.
Yeah, I have no idea what this is. I think I'm just gonna show up to classes if I get kicked out. I have one final.
Yeah, I would just,
I forgot what a block schedule is like.
they're probably just gonna be like, hey, go home or something like that, because I don't know.
I'm done after that, like my vocational.
I just passed the class. I could get a 0 on the final.
Okay, number 3 says to write the point slope form of the equation of the line through the given point with the given slope. So the first thing I need to know is I need to know what point slope form is. Does anybody remember?
What is it? Y minus 1.
Yeah.
Y minus y equals m.
Are we gonna be able to have a cheat sheet?
X minus X.
Your review is your
Is your
cheat sheet.
Oh, okay.
So x1, y1 is a given point, m is a given slope. So using this equation for part 3, it says it wants the equation of the line that goes through the point 2, 1 and has a slope of m equals 3. So then I just take this information and I plug it into that equation. So 2 is my x1, 1 is my y1, and m is 3. So I get y minus 1 equals 3 times x minus 2. That is the point slope form. Questions, concerns, or issues with that? Okay. Make sure you're paying attention to the form it's asking for. So then number 4 says it wants the slope-intercept form of the equation of the line that goes through 2 given points. What is slope-intercept form equation?
Y equals mx plus c.
Slope plus.
Yep, y equals mx plus b. Where m is your slope and b is your y-intercept. So those are the 2 forms that we looked at for 1 and 2. This specific problem wants the equation of the line that goes through 2 points, and those 2 points are 3, 3, and 0, 4. As I'm looking at this, I need a y-intercept and I need a slope. Do I have both of those pieces of information? I have the y-intercept, but I do not have my slope.
So you gotta.
So I gotta find it using my slope formula, which is good. So then I pull y2, which is 4, minus y1, which is 3, over x2, which is 0, minus x1, which is 3. I simplify, 4 minus 3 is 1, 0 minus 3 is negative 3. So that means my slope is negative 1/3. Since I know my y-intercept and I know my slope, I can put this directly into slope-intercept form, which is going to be y equals negative 1/3 x plus 4. However, I'm not always going to know that y-intercept, so there is another way of transitioning this into slope-intercept form.
That you telling me that that's gonna be the one final, and that doesn't happen.
I don't know. Maybe. Okay. So to transition this into slope-intercept form, if I have a point and I have a slope, I start in point-slope form. So I'm actually going to use the point 3, 3 for this example. So y minus 3 equals my slope, negative 1/3 times x minus 3. We're going to split this fraction in half. The denominator is going to go over to the left, and this numerator, negative 1, is going to go over to the right.
Yeah.
So I get 3 times y is 3y. 3 times 3 is 9, equals negative 1x plus 3. I move some more stuff around, so I'm going to go ahead and add this 9 over. When I do, I get 3y equals negative x plus 12. And then I'm just going to divide everything by 3. And when I do, I get y equals negative 1/3 x plus 4, which matches what I knew my equation had to come out to be. So either one of these avenues would have given you the correct slope-intercept equation. Give you guys a second on that one. Are we okay with that? I will also take or point out, if I was given 2 points, it doesn't matter which one I use. If I do all my work right, it's still going to come out to the same equation. Okay? So it does not matter which one of those points you pick to plug in. The next one I'm going to let you solve on your own, and then we will do together. So this is number 5, and it says to solve, and then it gives me the equation. 7 plus 5 times negative 3p minus 4 equals p plus 9 times, Brandon, stop talking, negative 2p plus 3. On your own, I would like for you to solve this one out, and then we will come together and go over it as a class. Everybody needs to work on this one.
Life goes on. Don't let your 10% negative. I recall this thing.
Cole, to the board, please.
Oh, no. All right, fine.
So when you said, oh no, I'm not gonna lie, I'm that adult that watches TikTok, and all I heard in my head was the, oh no. It was like, that's all I heard in my head.
Do I just boil it out?
Yeah, we distribute
That's gonna take forever. Do I gotta do all of it?
all of it.
All of it? I'm gonna end up messing up because this is. Oh, no, see,
Too much pressure?
He does have to
how do I get this off?
use the side of your hand. No, he's talking the 5 into the parentheses.
Am I doing it wrong already?
You're good so far. Keep going. Have confidence in your work, Cole. Come on.
I just asked to be honest.
Okay, keep going. So while he's working, what he did is he distributed the 5 on the left-hand side to the -3 and the -4. And then he distributed the 9 on the right-hand side to the -2p plus 3. And now he's simplifying across the equal sign.
Did I start doing it wrong? Oh, I did it.
What did you,
Hold on.
okay.
Yeah, I'm missing.
So maybe let's simplify on each side first.
Hold on, we're just gonna.
You messed up on
Oh
that.
no, you messed it up.
You can also open palm it as long as you keep your fingers together.
I tried, I don't think my fingers.
You have to keep the
together.
fingers together. If you separate them, it treats it like 5 different writing points.
All right, part 2. Hold on.
How would you got it?
Good save.
Look at it. This is just a lot at once.
Okay, I'm gonna pause you right there because I think you're gonna get confused again. So is there anything I could simplify or put together on that right-hand side?
You could put the P and 18 together.
The P and the -18, right? So what's 1 minus 18, Cole?
It's -17.
Yep. And then is there anything on the left that I can put together? Good. The 7 and the -20. Now we can add and subtract across the equal sign. Show of hands, who else got P equals 20? That is correct.
Oh my sweater.
Yay. This is sort of right.
Any major questions, concerns, or issues with that one?
I'm not gonna completely fail this.
Well, I'm not gonna fill the first half.
I'm gonna pass the first half, yeah, and I'm gonna probably fail the second.
You only get to the unit 3 stuff, that's why I'm gonna.
Okay.
Yeah.
Number 6 says to solve each inequality and graph its solution. So the inequality I have is 2 times 5x minus 10 is greater than 8 times x minus 7 plus 8. So initially I treat this just like an equal sign and I simplify on each side and then I simplify across. The only thing I need to keep in mind is that if at any point I divide by a negative number, my inequality sign has to flip, okay? That is the number one thing I have to remember about inequalities. So then treating this like an equal sign, what am I gonna do to simplify the left-hand side?
Do the thing.
Distribute the 2.
Yeah,
When I do, I get 10x minus 20. On the right-hand side, I do the same thing, I distribute the 8. And I get 8x minus 56 plus 8. Nothing I can put together on the left, so I just rewrite it. On the right, I can put the negative 56 and the 8 together, and I get 8x minus 48. And now I simplify across the inequality sign, just like I would an equal sign. So I'm going to subtract 8x over, and I'm going to add 20 over. 10 minus 8 is 2x. Negative 48 plus 20 is a negative 28. Divide each side by 2. Since I'm dividing by a positive 2, my sign stays the same. And I get x is greater than a negative 14. The really cool thing about inequalities and graphing is that if I solve this out and my variable is on the left-hand side, the arrow tells me which direction I'm shading. So then on the number line, I would go to wherever negative 14 is. We'll say 0's over here. And I need to graph this. When I graph it, I'm either putting an open circle or a closed circle. Which one?
Open.
How do we know it's open?
Because usually less than or greater than is usually the ones who's
Right.
If it's
Single
less than-
inequality is open. Double inequality is closed. Okay? So then I have an open circle and I'm shading to the right. And then I'm done.
The magic. It's a Christmas miracle.
Questions, concerns, or issues with that problem? No? Okay, next one.
Got ourselves a good old fashioned Christmas.
So this one is a story problem. I'm gonna go ahead and read it, and then we're gonna solve it together, okay? So it says Robert bought a new car for $20,000. So I'm gonna put 20,000 here so I remember. If he claims a linear depreciation or loss of value at a rate of $400 per year, so I'm going to say minus $400 a year, how long will it take for the value of the car to be 0? So the first thing I need to do is I need to set up some sort of equation and then fill in the information that I have. So when, well, some of you already know the answer, but that's okay. So when I set this up, I like to use variables that kind of stand for the word that they're replacing. So I'm going to say V equals the value of the car. T is clearly going to be the number of years. If I'm trying to calculate the value of the car after 1 year, what would I do? Somebody feel very, very confident in your answer and raise your hand. Ebony,
Like write it out in the equational form.
just tell me how you would do it.
I would. Alright, this has been a while since I've done
You're okay. Anybody else, he'll feel really, really confident in your answer or in an answer. Nope. Not T equals. Say, you said T minus, sorry. Say it again, Hannah. Okay, you're really, really close. So I know that I'm starting with the 20,000, right?
Wait,
Is it 20,000 negative 400 T equals 0?
Okay, Miguel just told us what it is. If I start with $20,000, if I'm trying to find how much it's worth after 1 year, I just subtract 400, right?
Yeah.
If I want to find how much it's worth after 2 years, I subtract 400 twice. If I want to know how much it's worth after 3 years, I subtract 400 3 times. Are we seeing the pattern here? So I'm subtracting 400 for every year T that I'm trying to find the value at.
And that's what I worked out.
So my value is 20,000, which is the initial price, minus the depreciation value times the number of tiers I'm calculating it at.
Say tiers or years.
Years. I probably said tiers, but it's
Years.
fine. T years. See, I just put it together. Okay. What am I trying to find the value? How many years? Oh my gosh. What value am I looking for in the end for this problem?
How many years?
0.
Oh.
So then I set this equal. And I solve for T. Cole, talk me through how you do this.
Honestly, I just kind of looked at it like 20 divided by 4. But
Okay, so first off, we should probably move this 400t to the left-hand side to make it positive, right?
Probably.
So then I'm gonna have 400t equals 20,000, and then just like Cole said, I divide out the 400, and I get t equals 50 years. So it would take 50 years for this car to lose all of its value.
I just come.
You could have also just looked at it and said, okay, 20 grand divided by 400. Do that.
That's what I always do when I see these problems. I just kind of just divide
That's
it
okay.
and the answer. Not this long problem for some reason.
Questions, concerns, or issues on that one? Are we good? So let's do the next problem. So this is number 8. And it says solve each system using any method you want. So when we talk about methods, we're either talking about substitution or elimination. You're welcome to use either, but I'm going to use one of each. I'm going to use substitution on 8 and elimination on 9 so that you can see an example. So the two equations I have are negative x minus 5y equals negative 1 and y equals x minus 1. So on elimination, we solve one of our equations for one variable. The really cool thing is this one is already solved for one variable. So then I take what that's equal to and I substitute it into the other equation and replacing that variable. So I'm going to take this x minus 1 and I'm going to put it where the y is in that first equation. So then I get negative x minus 5 times x minus 1 equals negative 1. And then from here, I distribute, I simplify, and I solve. So distributing the negative 5, I get negative x minus 5x plus 5 is negative 1. Negative x and negative 5x gives me negative 6x. Subtract the 5 over, and I get negative 6, which means x equals 1. Am I finished?
No, because you have to put the x in for the x and y equals x minus 1.
I need to solve for each of my variables. So like Ebony said, I'm now going to take this x equals 1 value, and I'm going to substitute it in for the x in that y equation, and I'm going to solve for y there. So when I do, I get y equals 1 minus 1, which means y equals 0. How do I write the solution to a system like this?
1, 0.
As a point with my variables in alphabetical order. So x comes before y, which means my solution point is 1, 0. If you can't remember, it helps to put the variable underneath each of its respective answers. Questions, concerns, or issues with that? Yes.
What if you mess up the order and put that makes a lot of sense?
And you put them under correctly, or
But under their respective one.
if you had it correct elsewhere, I might not count off. So if you like had x equals and y equals, you just put it in here wrong, I'm probably not going to be a huge stickler about that. Okay.
You know, that's something I would write it backwards.
We all do it. Even I do it.
And then I'd write X and it was all for answer.
I do it all the time, man. Okay. Second one. This one we're going to use elimination, just so you guys have an example of that to look at as well.
The what one?
This is number 9. We're going to use elimination.
What was that?
Substitution. I even wrote the word, man.
I wasn't looking.
So when we have elimination, my goal is to make 2 of my variables match, but with opposite signs, so that I can add straight down and cancel them out. It does not matter which variable we choose to eliminate first, because we're going to solve for both of them. So as I'm looking at this, which one do you guys want to solve for? X or Y? X. Okay. So this x is a negative 9. this x is a positive 5. So then to make them match with the opposite sign, I need to multiply the top one by 5 and the bottom one by 9. What I do to one thing, I have to do to the entire equation. So then I rewrite it. 5 times negative 9 is negative 45x. 5 times negative 10 is negative 50y. And then 5 times negative 25 is negative 125. Then I do 9 times that entire bottom equation. 9 times 5 is 45x. 9 times 9 is 81y. And then 9 times 7 is 63. And we like to add straight down. I'll give you guys a second to catch up. And I wanted that to happen, right, Hannah? So when I add straight down, a negative 45 and a positive 45 cancel each other out. Then I do negative 50 plus 81 leaves me a positive 31y. Negative 125 plus 63 gives me a negative 62. Then I divide each side by by positive 31, and I get y equals what? Negative 2. Am I finished?
No.
What do I need to do still?
You gotta plug in the y to the y's in one of the two equations.
Perfect.
I don't think it really matters.
Doesn't matter which one I choose to use. But if you want to do the bottom one, we'll do it. So I take the y equals negative 2, and I'm going to substitute it in for the y in this bottom equation because that's what I heard. So when I do, I get 5x plus 9 times a negative 2 equals 7. 9 times negative 2 is a negative 18. I add the 18 across, and I get 5x equals 25, which means x equals, and my solution then would be 5, negative 2. How do we feel about that one? Terrible, awful, okay?
Kinda alright.
Kinda alright?
Get used to it.
I like these portions of it, and then we get to like the next few pieces.
There's definitely a part of this that I'm kind of glad we were going over because that would really.
And my goal is to go over all of these. So we're gonna try and make it through 15 today. We're already almost there, so it should work.
Hooray!
Okay. Are you guys ready?
Yes.
Number 10 is another story problem. So if you are reading this or have it in front of you,
I kinda got through this one, but
Good.
I didn't solve it all the way, I just kinda got through this one part.
that's okay. Okay, make sure you read along while I read it out loud, please, okay? JD and Castell are selling cheesecakes for a school fundraiser. I don't know who named these people. Okay. Customers can buy pecan cheesecakes and apple cheesecakes. JD sold 5 pecan cheesecakes and 3 apple cheesecakes for a total of $150. Castell sold 12 pecan cheesecakes and 3 apple cheesecakes for a total of $276. Find the cost of each of the individual pecan cheesecakes and apple cheesecakes. So what am I gonna do to solve this? First thing, I need variables. These variables are the unknowns that I'm trying to solve for. So I'm going to use P for the cost of a pecan cheesecake. I'm going to use A for the cost of an apple cheesecake. And then I'm going to use the information from the story problem to write 2 equations that I will then use either elimination or substitution to solve. So I'm going to start with JD. It told me that JD sold $150 worth of cheesecakes. Of those cheesecakes, 5 were pecans and 3 were apple. So I have 150 equals 5P plus 3A. I also know that Castell sold $276 worth of cheesecakes. And Castell sold 12 pecan and 3 apple. So I would like to use these 2 equations to to solve for one of my variables.
Costello, I think it might come down to the
Yes. Camden, say what you're thinking out loud, please. Elimination.
Yeah. Multiply -1 by the bottom.
Okay, so her goal here is to use elimination. Since I have 3A and 3A, in order to eliminate these, I just need to make one of those negative. She chose the bottom equation, which is perfectly fine. So we're gonna multiply everything in this bottom equation by -1. When I do, I get -276, -12p, and -3a. I add straight down, and the 3a and the -3a cancel. 5 minus 12 is -7p, and 150 minus 276 is -126. Then I do what? Divide each side by -7, and I get what? 18.
Oh, yeah. Sorry, I was looking at the wrong page.
So that means the cost of a pecan cheesecake is $18.
Yeah.
Not even worth it.
I would not buy that cheesecake.
What if we were having a fundraiser and they're charging those prices? Nah.
Anything pecan isn't even worth $5.
Oh, I agree with you.
I always thought that it was pronounced pecan.
Nope, pecan. But that's okay. Each
Top
person
five.
pronounced it differently. I have a question.
Saying a pecan makes me
I'm not
think
gonna
like a
answer.
bird, but like pecan. so-
Yeah.
We can.
I think about
Newfound.
Are we finished with this problem?
No.
No, what do I still need to
We
find?
need to find the apple.
How do I find the apple?
We need
Plug
to
it
find-
in.
plug
Plug
it
it
in.
in.
Okay, we take that 18 and we substitute it in for one of the p's in one of the equations,
I think an apple for 20.
and then solve for A.
But also, make it yourself for like $3.
So I'm gonna go ahead and substitute it in for that top equation. I go ahead and I multiply 5 times 18 and I get 90. Subtract 90 from each side and I get 60 equals 3A, which means A equals what? So the apple cheesecakes are $20 each.
Again, those are some pricey cheesecakes.
So then we are finished because I solved for the price of the pecan and the apple cheesecake.
Apple cheesecake does sound pretty good.
I could really go for like a cherry cheesecake.
I love cherry.
They're all.
I could go with
Ooh.
an original cheesecake.
I never had
Original.
any kind of cheesecake in my life.
I love it You're missing out.
Cheesecake is
I agree. That or like warm pie fresh from the oven.
So would you just circle both of those
Yeah.
for your answer?
Yep.
Okay.
I'm good, thank you.
You're welcome.
I kind of missed part of that one just because I was going back to remind
Okay.
myself that you need to flip the sign on that inequality on that last.
Okay, so this next one is a lovely one to get confused with because it's 3 variables.
See, I got like the first step and I forgot what to do.
Okay. So the first thing we're gonna do is just go ahead and write this out, and then I will do this step by step with you, okay? So I have 5x plus y minus 5z equals 24. Then I have 5y minus 4z equals -14. Brandon, I suggest you stop talking and start writing. And then I have 2x minus y plus 6z equals a -14. As we're doing this, I'm gonna have to do elimination a couple of times. Yes, okay, give me a second. Our goal whenever we have a system of 3-dimensional, 3-dimensional system problems is that I need to get 2 equations down to 2 variables so that I can use normal elimination to solve for one of the variables and we plug back in to solve for the others. I do notice, however, that one of my equations is already down to two variables, right? This middle one is down to just a y and a z. So that means I need to do what, Heath?
You have to get rid of the x,
In what?
the top and bottom.
So I need to take the first and the third, and I need to forcibly cancel out my x's so that I can use that new equation and my middle equation to eliminate another one of the variables. Right now I have a 5 in the first equation and a 2 in the second equation for my x's. I need to cancel those somehow. So I need to make one of them negative, and I'm gonna have to make leave one of them positive, but they have to be the same number. So what number am I gonna turn both of those x's into? 10, because logically that's the number that both 5 and 2 go into. I'm gonna go ahead and make the top one negative, just because I want to. So in order to make that top one negative, I'm gonna multiply that by a -2, and then I'm gonna multiply the bottom equation by a +5. When I do that, I'm left with -10x minus 2y plus 10z equals -48. My bottom equation becomes 10x minus 5y plus 30z equals a -70. Right? I just multiply each number in the top one by -2 and each number in the bottom one by 5. Then I add straight down, my x's cancel. Then I get -7y plus 40z equals -118. Then I go ahead and bring over my middle equation because it's already down to two variables. And when I do, I get 5y minus 4z equals -14. My goal is to now use elimination on those two to cancel out one of my variables. Which variable would you like to cancel?
Let's go with C.
Okay, so I heard that z just because I think it's a +40 and a -4, which seems really easy to cancel. In order to do that, what am I going to have to multiply that bottom equation by? 10. So I'm going to go ahead and rewrite this so that we have the space. When I do, I get -7y plus 40z minus 118. Then I get 50y minus 40z equals, oh my gosh, -140. I add straight down, the z's cancel. -7 plus 50 is a +43. -118 and -140 is -258. And then I divide each side by 43. And we get what? -6. That is one of my answers. I still have two more that I need to find. So what do you think I'm going to solve for next now that I know what y is, Ebony?
You plug it into the second equation, 5y minus 4z equals -14.
So I can solve for z,
Yeah.
right? Okay. So let's do that. I get 5 times -6 minus 4z is -14. 5 and -6 is a -30. Minus 4z is -14. I'm going to add the 30 over. I get -4z equals 16. I divide each side by -4. And I get z equals -4. And then we take that y and that z and we plug them back to any one of the other two original equations. And we solve for x. So I'm going to go ahead and plug it into the bottom one. So when I do that, I get 2x minus a -6 plus 6 times a -4 is -14. This becomes 2x plus 6 minus 24 is -14. 6 minus 24 becomes a -18. I add add the 18 over, and I get 2x equals 4, which means x equals 2. Just like we did on the other systems, I like to go ahead and write this as a point. Remember, we have to state it in alphabetical order for our variables. So my x was 2, my y was -6, and my z was -4. Give you guys a second to catch up on that one.
Should we be done after this one? I can't sweat it.
Let's get through 12 and 13, and then we will. Because those are multiple choice. And then we'll stop.
Well, that definitely helped out a lot.
Do you guys want to do 2 more, or do you want to stop?
Let's do two
Let's,
more.
yes, do
Let's-
2 more,
let's
come
do it.
on, let's do this.
It's 9:24.
You have 6
I'd
minutes.
say you decide.
Maybe we could do one. One
Let's
more.
let's do 1. Okay.
Because I have no idea exactly how long it's gonna take to do these ones. I don't think it's gonna take
I don't
two.
have to all like that.
I looked for one.
Got it, it worked out.
Oh, yeah, okay. Let's do number 12. So on this, I was given 2 inequalities. The first thing we need to do is get each of these in terms of y if it's not already there. The good news for me is both of these are already in that perfect form to go ahead and put on a graph. And I graph them as if there was an equal sign instead of an inequality to start with, okay? So this first one, I'm gonna color code it blue. Is the same as x equals -3. So I go to -3 on the x-axis, and I'm going to draw a dotted line because that's a single inequality. If it's a double inequality, then I go ahead and I use a solid line. Once I've done that, I like to plug in a point to test to see which direction I'll be shading from that line. I like to always plug in 0, 0 because it just makes a lot of sense to me. There is no y, so I just plug in 0 for x, and I get 0 is greater than -3. Is that true?
Yeah.
Yes, which means on this line, I'm going to shade toward the point 0, 0, which is right here. So I'm going to shade this direction. I'm just going to put arrows for now so I don't get confused later on. I will do the same thing with that second inequality. I'm going to treat it like a line. So this inequality, I'm going to say is the red one, has a y-intercept of +2, and it has a slope of 1/3. So I go up 1 to the right 3, or I go down 1 to the left 3. Am I going to use a dotted line or a solid line? Dotted, because it is a single inequality. And then I do the same thing I did on the previous problem. I go ahead and I plug in 0, 0, and I simplify. So 0 in for y is just 0. 1/3 times 0 is 0. And then +2 leaves me with 0 is greater than 2. Is that true? No, 0 is smaller than 2. So I'm going to shade away from the point 0, 0. So that means I'm shading up on this one. So then I just look to see where my arrows all point toward. So on this one, I point up, and this one, I point to the right. So this is the overlapping section.
So it's D.
So it's D.
Yay.
Questions, concerns, or issues?
Just one quick question. So when we're figuring it out, doing the 0, if it's correct, then we
Shade towards
shade
0,
towards it.
0.
If it's incorrect, we shade away from
Correct.
0.
Yep.
Okay.
Wait, how did
Yeah. It's like about 5, 6 feet.
Okay, that's what we're gonna stop with this time.